Waitress humiliated the quiet man. Until he left a $100,000 tip in the heart of downtown Chicago, where every detail speaks of luxury, the Velvet Room stands as a beacon of elegance and fine dining. Tonight, sleek cars are parked outside and patrons arrive dressed to impress, their laughter mingling with the soft clinking of glasses. Meet David Harris, a man who prefers to stay under the radar. Quiet, unassuming, and dressed plainly, David doesn't fit the usual image of the Velvet Room's clientele. But tonight, his presence will spark a moment no one saw coming. Jessica, one of the restaurant's star servers, takes pride in her polished professionalism. But when her gaze lands on David, her polite smile tightens. She's certain he's out of place. "Are you sure you belong here, sir?" Her words, dripping with unspoken judgment, cut through the room like a knife, loud enough for nearby tables to catch every syllable. David nods silently, taking his seat, his calm demeanor unwavering despite the cold reception. What happened? Next left everyone in the restaurant stunned, because beneath David's quiet exterior lies a story that would turn the evening, and Jessica's attitude, completely upside down. Before we dive deeper into this unforgettable night, let us know where you're watching from. And if you love stories of unexpected twists and justice served, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what comes next. David Harris was not the type to draw attention. Standing about 5'10", with a lean build, his simple clothes, a plain navy hoodie and faded jeans, seemed almost invisible against the backdrop of the Velvet Room's lavish interiors. His sneakers were worn from years of use, and a small, well-worn leather backpack hung casually from one shoulder. His dark eyes held a quiet intelligence and a hint of weariness, as if life had taught him lessons far beyond his years. Though unassuming, there was an undeniable dignity in David's posture, a calm strength that suggested resilience. He was a man who had seen hardships but refused to be defined by them. Beneath the surface, he carried a story that few could guess just by looking. Jessica Williams, on the other hand, was the epitome of confidence. At 28, she was one of the Velvet Room's top servers, impeccably dressed in the restaurant's signature black uniform, with flawless makeup and perfectly styled hair. Her sharp eyes scanned every guest as they walked in, measuring their worth against the high standards of this upscale establishment. Jessica came from a well-off background, raised in the city's elite circles. She was used to luxury, to being admired, and to setting the tone for others. But that confidence sometimes edged into arrogance. She believed that appearance was everything, and when someone didn't meet her expectations, she didn't hesitate to show it. To Jessica, David looked out of place, too casual, too quiet, too different from the polished clientele she served every night. Her smile never quite reached her eyes as she approached him, ready to make her judgment clear. As David stepped up to the hostess stand, his quiet demeanor barely registering among the usual buzz of conversation and clinking glasses, Jessica's gaze sharpened. She forced a polite smile, but there was a flicker of judgment in her eyes. "Table for one?" she asked, her tone clipped but professional. David nodded, his voice soft but steady. "Yes, please." Jessica glanced at him from head to toe, her eyes lingering a little too long on his worn sneakers and faded hoodie. "Do you have a reservation?" she pressed, the implication clear. Someone like him probably wouldn't. "No," David replied calmly. "Just here to have dinner." Jessica's smile tightened. "Well, we do like to keep things exclusive here. Sometimes walk-ins aren't accommodated right away." Her words weren't outright rude, but the sharp edge in her tone and the subtle narrowing of her eyes made it obvious she didn't think he belonged. A few nearby guests caught the exchange, their eyes flicking toward David with quiet curiosity, or perhaps a hint of shared skepticism. David's calm didn't waver. He simply nodded and waited, aware of the whispered murmurs around him. Jessica turned away briefly, her posture stiffening as she relayed the situation to the manager. The message was clear. David was not exactly welcome here. Despite the thinly veiled cold shoulder, David was seated at a small table near the back, away from the bustling main floor. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken judgment. Servers moved past him with barely concealed glances, their smiles polite but strained. Jessica, the waitress assigned to his table, approached with a rehearsed air of professionalism, but her eyes betrayed a trace of disdain. "Can I take your order?" she asked, voice dripping with barely hidden condescension. David glanced up, undeterred. "Just a water for now, thanks." Jessica's lips pressed into a tight line. "Are you sure you don't want to look at the menu? Our specials are quite expensive, not sure if they'd be your style." The comment was loud enough for nearby diners to hear, causing a few heads to turn in David's direction. A few patrons exchanged smirks, as if silently agreeing with her judgment. David's calm response was almost inaudible. "I'm good for now." But Jessica's subtle mistreatment didn't stop there. Throughout the evening, she made sure David's requests were delayed, his water refilled last, and his presence almost invisible to the other staff. Meanwhile, the affluent customers received swift, attentive service, their glasses never empty, their needs anticipated before they were voiced. It wasn't just about poor service. It was the clear message that David didn't belong here, that he was out of place, a mistake in this world of luxury. But beneath David's composed exterior, a quiet fire was growing. He wasn't just here to eat, he was here to prove something. Just as the night seemed to settle into an uncomfortable routine, a sudden hush fell over the restaurant. Jessica, who had been glancing at David with thinly veiled skepticism all evening, was called over by the manager. With a hesitant smile, he handed her an envelope. Curiosity got the better of her as she opened it, revealing a card with David's name. But what truly stunned her was the message beneath. "Thank you for your service. Please accept this bonus from the owner himself." Her eyes widened, in disbelief. Before she could process the moment, David rose from his seat. Calm and confident, he approached the front desk, pulling out a sleek business card. "I'm David Walker," he said, voice steady yet commanding. "I'm the new majority, owner of this establishment." Gasps rippled through the room. The very man she had dismissed and mistreated was not only a valued guest, but the owner, the person in charge. Jessica's face drained of color as the weight of her earlier arrogance hit her like a tidal wave. The diners who had whispered and judged now looked on in stunned silence. David paused, then added with a quiet smile, "I hope tonight's experience encourages everyone here to remember that true respect isn't based on appearances." The room remained silent for a moment longer, the impact of David's revelation sinking deeply into everyone present. Jessica, now flushed with embarrassment, lowered her gaze and took a hesitant step forward. I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible but sincere. "I judged you unfairly, and I should have treated you with respect from the start." David nodded graciously, his calm demeanor transforming the atmosphere from tension to understanding. "It's never too late to learn," he replied kindly. "We all carry biases, but what matters is how we choose to grow beyond them." Slowly, other staff members and diners began to reflect on their own assumptions. The hum of whispered apologies and nods of agreement filled the air. From that night on, the restaurant became more than just a place of fine dining. It grew into a community, where respect and kindness transcended appearances and titles. Employees started treating every guest with genuine warmth, and patrons in turn embraced a more open, less judgmental mindset. David's story became a powerful reminder. True dignity comes not from wealth or status, but from humility, empathy, and the courage to see beyond the surface. As the evening drew to a close, the story of David and Jessica lingered in the hearts of everyone present, and beyond. It was more than just a tale about a man surprising others with his generosity. It was a lesson in humility, respect, and the power of not judging a book by its cover. In a world quick to form opinions based on appearances, David's quiet strength and unexpected kindness challenged everyone to rethink their assumptions. It showed that true worth isn't measured by outward looks or first impressions, but by the character we carry within. This story reminds us all, beneath every seemingly ordinary person could be an extraordinary soul with a story worth hearing. And sometimes the greatest acts of kindness come from those we least expect. So next time you encounter someone who seems different, take a moment. Offer respect first, because you never know how their story might change your own.